guidance for the rising signs. I'm Daphna, tuning in from Sedona, Arizona. And if you enjoy this video and if you want to get the weekly horoscopes updated automatically, of course, don't forget to subscribe. And I'd be so happy if you left a comment and just shared what resonates with you and what your rising sign is so that you can share that with me. So if you want, there's also a podcast that kind of goes along with these horoscopes. It's over on Apple Podcasts and it's called Inner Cosmos. Let's begin. So on the podcast, I will, go a little bit more in depth into the energy of this week, but we're looking at the week of February 26th to March 5th, I believe it is. This week is kind of like a quieter week astrologically. There's not as many major aspects going on, but I thought it would be cool to focus these readings on Venus because this week we have Venus meeting up with both Jupiter and Chiron in Aries, and I'll explain a little bit about what that means for all of us before I go into the messages for each of the signs. Venus is currently in Aries. That's my natal placement, and maybe it's yours too, and if it is, then happy Venus return. And when we have Venus in Aries, basically it lasts for like a month. When Venus is in Aries, she is really fiery, and our energy can feel like we want things to move forward. We want for things to be happening. We want a lot of action. It's a very passionate placement. And Aries is actually considered the detriment of Venus because Venus just is a little bit out of her comfort zone in this sign. But I'm really working on fully embracing what it means to have Venus in Aries and not just like tolerating it, but really, really going with it. So that's what's like coming up for me during this Venus return. And I feel like overall, our hearts to all of the different planets and all of the different signs is such a beautiful way to experience life to the fullest. And even if your natal Venus is somewhere else, right? Chances are, that it might be. But wherever it is, you're experiencing this energy now as well too. So what is coming up for you? I always like to really encourage people to just tune into your personal direct experience, because no matter how much any astrologer out there is going to share, it's never going to be exactly what your experience is, because there's just no way, right? Unless they're like directly looking at your chart and really, really very attuned to like the nuances of like what's happening in your life and what you've been through. So the most powerful horoscope of all is always your life, like what's actually happening. And I really share these not to ever take away from your direct experience with life, more so to just complement it and enrich it and provide you with some extra tools on your journey to make the most of it, right? And to extract like the magic and the medicine and the wisdom of every transit every day. With that said, when we have Venus in Aries meeting up with Jupiter, it's just an amplification of that energy. And I have my notes written of the dates and stuff because there is no way I can remember it all. So that's happening. Venus is conjunct Jupiter on this Wednesday and Thursday, March 1st and 2nd. So that right there is just a big, abundant energy. There might be a lot of breakthroughs, a lot of new beginnings, especially in romantic relationships, but also in our relationship with ourselves. Because when Venus is in Aries, that is what it's about. The axis of Libra and Aries, or Aries and Libra, is about the self and the other. And I've been on a journey for the past couple of years on like really healing relationship patterns with attachment styles and all that stuff. And like, I'm really just learning. And I think we all are collectively, at least my Instagram seems to indicate it. Like, we're all just realizing like love has to come from within. And, when you choose yourself, that's when life just opens up, right? Like there's all these beautiful reels and stuff going around. Like the flower doesn't chase after the bees, right? It blossoms and it comes. And that whole axis of Libra and Aries is about attraction. So like the law of attraction, ultimately, like we're all just, playing with these laws all the time. But I feel that this axis of energy is really a great place to figure it out and to master the law of attraction. And we really need both. We need to love ourselves, and Venus in Aries is the best teacher of self-love and being interdependent, right? Not hyper independent or codependent. Really, it's in that middle ground. So with Jupiter here, right? So I'm just feeling like Wednesday, Thursday, good day to like start new things. The moon is waxing this week, so if I was to say, that's just a very, very like positive energy for us to work with, and it's an amplification of the energy of love, right? And luck. So I'm looking forward to that. And then right after, Venus will meet up with Chiron on Thursday and Friday. And that to me feels like the energy of healing the heart. So Chiron is the wounded healer, and it is about, whatever wounds we are carrying that are really just wanting to be witnessed, wanting to be loved, wanting to be healed. And I've been sharing recently a lot about like how I'm trying to like not over identify with my healing journey and with improving myself and like being my best self. I actually don't resonate with that anymore. I resonate with being my true self, which is not perfect and which is always healing, like we all always are. But this concept of not over identifying with healing, I think, is a really cool thing to look at with this transit. And especially being that we're in Pisces season, Mercury is going to be moving into Pisces as well this week. The sun is there, right? And so we want to make sure that well, no, not we want to make sure. No, I just want to say that this is a very healing energy to begin with. And while we're in that, we have this beautiful Venus Aries stuff going on that's like, hey, yes, the healing is all good and beautiful and that's wonderful, but don't lose yourself in it. Don't drown in it, and don't lose your sense of self in it, right? Because we can do that too. Without further ado, I feel it's time to go into the messages. Remember that these are for your rising. That's what I'm intending. Your rising sign. To me, that's the most accurate way of doing it. And I'm just really going to open up. I'm working on letting go of like having the answers and doing it perfect. Like I want to just channel whatever wants to come through. So may this just be in the highest good for all. And I invite you to take a moment before you skip ahead to your sign, just to place your hand on your heart and maybe your other hand on your belly if that feels good, or just whatever feels good for you, wherever in your body. Like it could be your head, just anywhere where you feel like you just want to hold it. And just to open up to the message, right, that you're ready to receive. Something I read earlier actually in the guidebook for this deck was, when you're going in for a reading or like pulling cards for yourself, like it's really good to have a very clear question in mind, because then you'll have a really clear answer. And I think there's a lot of power and there's a great benefit in being able to formulate a question. So I invite you to maybe press pause and just think of a question maybe that you want to ask. And it's also totally okay to not and to just be open, right? That's what I usually do, but I do kind of like the idea of having like a really specific question as well. So, okay, we're going to start here with the Aries rising message. Okay, so Aries rising, Venus and Jupiter and Chiron, this whole little party is going to be happening in your first house, which is your house of self. So whenever we have things happening in our first house, I've found that those are very potent transits and activations. I usually feel them really powerfully and intensely. So just saying, you may be feeling a lot of things coming up and good. I'm not putting anything on it in terms of good, bad, ugly, whatever. It just is. But I usually find that first house transits are very, very pronounced. Okay, so what's the message for our Aries rising people? Oh, okay, so Saturn has emerged, and I see this as the guide that has come to appear for, your support. So Saturn it says here, feel restricted, experience struggle, learn hard work and patience. And there's an owl, like the wise old owl. So Saturn to me, I'm still getting used to these cards. That's why I'm kind of like sitting with it. But Saturn to me is about, it's like karma and, grandfather time. And it is about restriction in a sense that it's, this guide, this energy that's coming through to assist you right now or to support you. It's about our posture, I like to say, both our physical posture, but our energetic posture, and really standing up, standing in our integrity, and being realistic about things. Sometimes Saturn is the teacher of knowing when to say no, and less is more, and when to edit things, and to just chisel it down to what's really important. Saturn is a very balancing energy to Jupiter, which again is in your first house, and I feel like it's coming in to help you to eliminate anything that's kind of distracting you, or to just kind of have a sturdier sense of self as things may be falling away in your life, or things may be changing, or things may be coming up for healing, because Pisces is sort of like this big tidal wave, I like to think of it, that really brings everything up and kind of, it's like when you take like a jar with, like, let's say tea in it or mud, and you shake it and then it like separates. I feel like Pisces just shakes it all up, and then we kind of have to like filter through and be like, okay, this is the pure, this is not, right? So Saturn is very exacting, and it's about using your sense of judgment and fairness, and also like you're trusting in the laws of karma, that whatever is happening, to be able to say thank you, because I trust that there's a higher wisdom, a higher cosmos happening here, and I can trust it, right? So karma, it's a gift, right? That saying, karma's a bitch, but like, it's really not, unless you are, right? Like if you have good karma in your auric field, then like, you would be happy as to whatever's coming back, because you trust that, that you're living in divine balance with the web of life, and you feel an integrity with yourself. So Saturn's coming in here to support you in some way, and Saturn is offering guidance and kind of like a helping hand. So open your heart to whatever that means for you this week. A little bit of Saturn medicine may be just the balance that you need throughout these Piscean and Aries, Jupiter and Venus and Chiron times. Okay, we're going to move on to Taurus rising. So Taurus rising, let's see what the message is for you. This week, you have the Venus, Jupiter, Chiron party is going on in your 12th house of spirituality and solitude and innermost kind of realms of your subconscious. 12th house is such an interesting place, and I do also find that transits happening in the 12th house are very powerful. So this was actually Jupiter that has emerged as your guide for the week. Grow and expand. So basically the message here for you is saying, lean on Jupiter. What would Jupiter do? That's something I always ask myself. And I always think about like Zeus, like this huge, benevolent, cosmic kind of God figure that's like just so joyful and giving. Or, I mean, maybe you've seen the Hercules, the Disney version, but like the dad, Zeus, like just so loving, so loving. And Jupiter is a guide that helps you grow and expand through your faith and through just generosity of the spirit, having faith, right? So this song keeps coming into my head all week long. You got to have faith. There's the George Michael version, but then there's also the Limp Bizkit version. Maybe a lesser known one, but I really like that version. I have to listen to it again. It's a little more hardcore, which might do well with the Venus and Aries. But you got to have faith. You really do. You have to have faith that it's like all we can do ultimately, right? That things are happening for your highest, that there is a reason, that there is a divine cosmos, and that it's happening for you. You have to let yourself expand, right? So I think of like the caterpillar in the cocoon, or any time that we are going through a growth process. It can feel very dark. It can feel very alone and kind of constricted, but we have to have faith that it's just a phase, and that is going to lead to our growth into this whole new like butterfly, like my necklace, right? Version of ourselves. So Jupiter's come along to say, hey, take my hand, we're going to walk together this week, and I'm going to help you feel jovial and jubilant and like light. And the card actually did come in upside down reverse. So maybe the message is, are you channeling that Jupiter? Are you making sure to be open to it, to the gifts, to the abundance? Jupiter and all of them, their states of mind as well, aside from frequencies and guides, their states of mind or manner of travel, where Jupiter is like, let's have fun with this. Nobody's getting out of here alive, like, anyway. So let's just make the most of it, right? So this week, I just invite you to open up to that Jupiter energy, lighten your load, do whatever feels joyful to you, and, allow yourself to embrace that loving, just very, very big energy, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so next, of course, Gemini rising, and this is happening, this party, I like to say, is in your 11th house. So let's see what the message is for you this week. Two cards came out, actually, no surprise. I'm gonna go with both of them. So it's house 2 came up, and that is about your like material security, your possessions. It says here physical security, possessions, material values, and your self-worth. And then also Leo came up. Okay, so Leo energy is coming through, some Leo medicine. So Leo's the star, and it's about focusing on yourself, your self-confidence, your creativity and your self-sovereignty, your creative self-expression. So I feel like the message here is to share your gifts with the world, because this is in your 11th house, friendships, this is a really good week to like meet new people, make new connections, and really expand your social circle. Go out there and just follow your call, right? Like don't overthink it. I've really gotten into the habit since moving to Sedona of like just whatever first thing pops into my head, I just do it. Like if I just get this, like I'm like, okay, go to this hiking trail or go to that place, and like I don't question it, I just go, and it's always so fun, and it's always there's usually some kind of great like thing that happens. So I feel this spontaneous energy, this expansiveness of your friendships and your social life, but then also around money and your self-worth, right? You may be able to make some awesome connections this week that increase your sense of self-worth, but also that create more abundance for you. So just go with that. That sounds really fun. There may be some healing opportunities that may come up in your sphere around money, healing your sense of abundance versus like scarcity, or showing you where maybe you can step into your next level of abundance in your mindset, in your way of just managing money as well, which are connected, of course. But I'm really feeling like this call to embrace this Leo energy here and, do something that you really love and that's fun and creative, and bring it into your friendship circle, bring it to other people, share it in some sort of social setting, and that might be really, really cool for you. The weather outside is so amazing right now. It's like snowing, sunny, dark clouds, blue sky, like all happening at once. To Cancer rising, this Venus, Chiron, Jupiter party is all going on in your 10th house. And this is for me, so I'm all ears. And let's see what the message is for us for this week. Okay, Sagittarius, it came in reversed. So this is the energy that's presenting to support us this week. Sagittarius is about optimism, expansion, exploration, freedom, truth, our beliefs, like what are we really about? And because this is happening in our 10th house, I feel like maybe the message is around really getting clear on and taking fuller ownership over what our real truth is and what we really want to get behind as far as our message, especially if you are a business owner like me, or if you're sharing content in any way, or even if you're not, just anything with your work or your career or anything where you are kind of contributing. So the message is to really free ourselves from any shackles or chains that are holding us back from owning that full message. And this really resonates for me this week because I'm realizing that I still have so much conditioning and so many rules that I'm kind of bringing into my business that are like harder than I expected to deprogram from, but I'm just going with it. I'm just trusting it. I'm talking it out and I'm sharing it and I'm expressing it and seeing it and reflecting on it and all that stuff. And like I'll just give a tangible example, like launching my, I don't even like that word anymore, like putting my podcast out there and putting this YouTube channel out. Like I find that my brain wants to like organize it in such a way that goes by certain rules that I learned, or even like my free guide that I created, I created it and the energy of creating it just felt so just completely different than the energy that when I started having to like market it. And I was just like, whoa, this is like weird, So I want to honor my truth more, and I want to really just free myself from anything in my business, anything in the way that I'm sharing my message, in the way that I'm showing up in the world that is holding me back from like my real truth. And that's the message that I feel is happening for us. So let me know if that resonates with you. Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to the Leo rising. And this is happening in your 9th house. Your 9th house has to do with travel and with expanding your consciousness and your wisdom, and also higher education, like just growing yourself and learning new things and your higher mind. So let's see what the message is here for you, Leo rising, for this week, as the 9th house is where the Venus Jupiter Chiron party is happening. Okay, so water came in as the elemental guide. So it's basically saying, okay, you want to embrace this element this week. It actually came in reversed, and I just decided as I was doing readings for myself with these cards that I am going with reversed. Basically, when it comes in reverse, I'm interpreting that as like, there's a little bit of a misalignment happening maybe where you just want to check in, like, oh, okay, am I embracing my water element? Now, because I mean, of course, I'm only looking at your rising sign, but Leo, very fiery energy. So are you embracing that water, which is your emotion, intuition, compassion? It's really like your sensitivity receptors and like the heart, the vulnerability piece, which sometimes, just feels like a drag, but it's Pisces season. And since this is in your ninth house, as I was saying, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for you to grow right now and to expand through this element. So if it does resonate that maybe you're kind of avoiding your emotions a little bit, or you're feeling like you don't really want to go too deep into the vulnerability space, like that's totally okay. But finding ways that you feel comfortable with, right? You don't have to, okay, this is coming up like the whole identifying with our healing and like getting lost in it. Like, you don't have to heal all the time. You don't have to like go so deep into your wounds and into, your shadow and all this stuff. It doesn't have to feel so heavy, right? Like my dad used to always say to me when I was younger, I was so emo because I am fire and water, but like I really was. And he'd always be like, don't make it so heavy. And he's a Gemini too, but like I finally get what he was saying. Like sometimes that water can feel so heavy and so just like, oh my gosh, like emo. But there's a lot of, there's great gifts to it as well. And so I feel that the message is, go a little bit into your feelings, whatever level of comfort feels right for you right now. And allow yourself to feel every day this week, right? Because it's for your expansion ultimately. And sometimes if we can remind ourselves that we're not doing it just to sit in it and to be that and to like allow for it to like slow us down, it's for our growth, right? Like I was listening to Taylor Lee's podcast and she did this little episode about how like she's gotten to a place in her life and her business where she's so happy when things come up for dealing with, right? Like she was saying how she used to run away from like difficult or uncomfortable emotional types of interactions with people, which are inevitable. But now she's like so excited for it because it means that growth is right on the other side of it. And I really liked that reframe. And that's kind of like what it feels like. It's like, what is the thing that you're avoiding or not really wanting to feel or face emotionally that is just right there? And if you, give yourself that permission to, in a safe way, in like a lighter way, in a safe way, essentially, it's going to open up so many doors of opportunity for you this week. So let me know if that resonates. Okay, we're going to move on to the Virgo rising. Okay, so this Venus Jupiter Chiron party is going on in your 8th house. So the 8th house is, it's such a powerful place. I've had my Saturn in there for the past 2 years, and let me tell you, I'm ready for next week when Saturn moves into my 9th. But 8th house transits are powerful. They're so potent, and so much comes up. And especially with Chiron, especially even with like Venus, like things are brought to the surface, and they're usually not the most fun or comfortable to deal with because they're so deep and karmic, and it just feels like so in there, invasive sometimes. But on the other hand, it's also really healing, really alchemizing, really transformational. So just holding space for whatever like section of that spectrum you're at, and maybe it's both and all at the same time. But let's see what the message is for you as this is all happening in your 8th house. Okay, so what came in, and I'm actually feeling like I want to do 2 cards for you. So first came in, interesting. First came in the square, and that came in reversed. Now the square is an aspect card. So it's kind of telling us, okay, maybe you're feeling challenged and you're feeling kind of like it says mountain to climb on here. I see it as like, well, it's like a 90-degree angle aspect. And it's, to me, the square feels, the energy of it feels like just this challenge that is like an obstacle more so, right? Challenge actually to me feels like more of a cool, like, oh yeah, like that's a challenge. It's almost, to me, feels like more of this obstacle or this block that you feel in front of you. And the cool thing is that the card was reversed, so that's interesting. Maybe there's some sort of just tweak or like realignment wanting to happen. And the second card was actually the Virgo card, and that came in reversed as well. And that is, your rising sign energy that we're talking about. But as a archetype, Virgo medicine, right, it says here integrity, reverence, and service, which I like. I also like devotion, and I also like to talk about Virgo within the context of the connection between the mind and the body and heaven and the earth. And Virgo is just such a fascinating energy to me. So because it came in reversed, I feel like there is, a double message here of saying, hey, this week, is there something blocking this energy for you? And it really, because it's your rising, it has such a big part of your sense of identity, right? So is something blocking or kind of taking you out of your sense of self, and really going with like who you are, right? Our rising sign is one part of who we are, but it's a big part of it. And again, our rising is how we feel about who we are. So it feels, the message here is saying, okay, this week, I would love for you to support yourself in coming back home to yourself, in owning who you are, in saying, this is who I am, I love who I am, right? And this is why I do, and these are the things about me that I recognize maybe are my shortcomings, right? Again, to bring it back to what I was saying, I'm not into best self anymore or highest self, right? It's about true self. And you may really, really want to get my guide that I created, because it's exactly about that. It's about just coming to a place where you are saying, this is who I am, good, bad, ugly, all of it. I love it because this is who I am. I can't be somebody else, right? And that's not the best use of our energy. So the question here is kind of asking you, what's blocking you from accepting all of yourself and being who you are and seeing the beauty and seeing the value of who you are right here, right now, not tomorrow, not after you've healed, not after you finish that course, not after you do this or that, just right now, right? That's the message. So let me know if that resonates. Okay, we're going to move on to the Libra rising, and I always take a little sip of coffee at this point because they're at the halfway point. And let's see. So Libra rising, this is happening. This Venus Jupiter Chiron party is happening in your 7th house, which is a house Libra rules. So you may feel like connection to this. It's about relationships. It's about synergy and connecting with others and being in that relationship. So let's see what the message here says, because that's the house that Venus rules. Well, one of them. Okay, so the message for the Libra rising. Oh, interesting. Okay, so one of the houses has come through, and it's the 12th house. So this is coming through as a balancing or kind of supportive energy for you to lean on as you move through this week. Okay, so 12th house is actually ruled by Pisces. So it's spirituality, transcendence, karma, sacrificial service, and healing. So the 12th house essentially it's the place of quietude and solitude. It's a place where you can go and be in stillness. And my vibe of the week is stillness, actually. So you may want to borrow that or kind of, feel into how that may feel for you. It feels like you want to kind of go have some time alone right now, which can be very balancing for you this week in particular, because there's so much happening in that house of partnerships. It may really, really serve you to carve some time out, whether it's daily, you'll know, but make sure you are giving yourself time to just be with yourself, to hear your thoughts, to feel your truth, to tend to yourself and to connect to yourself. That's just the message that's coming through. So let me know if that resonates. Meditation, all of that kind of stuff is great, but even just, going for a walk, like a hike or whatever you like to do, taking some time, like just don't be afraid to say, hey, whatever is going on, other people like say, okay, I'm taking some alone time right now. You're being invited into the 12th house this week. So my last week's podcast episode is called Meet Me in the 12th House. I will meet you there anytime in the astral plane and we can connect, but we have to be alone in the 3-day for it to be the 12th house. Actually, there are certain people who you can be in the 12th house with. That's that comfortable silence. So maybe you don't have to be completely alone, but you have to be in a space where you're tuned into yourself is the idea. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Scorpio rising. And this Venus, Jupiter, Chiron party is happening in your 6th house. Your 6th house has to do with your day-to-day routine, your daily schedule, your exercise, your body, what you're eating. It's really that every day, we're in it. Like, for me, that looks like kids, making lunches, picking them up, like that. It's all like that kind of stuff, but it's also like your relationship to your body and all of that. So let's see what the message is for you this week, as this is all happening there in that 6th house. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so we're getting a lot of planetary guidance this week. I like it. So Mars has come in to be your guide this week to support you. Mars is, of course, the ruler of Aries. So this is great. So this is kind of saying, okay, you kind of want to double down on this energy. And Mars is, your chart ruler, by the way, because you are Scorpio rising, also Pluto. But I actually really resonate with Mars being the ruler a lot for Scorpio. So this is a very important energy for you. And Mars is a warrior. It's the divine masculine, but it doesn't have to be masculine or feminine. It's just, it's a very strong, assertive energy of knowing what you want and being focused and, having your willpower directed and clean and all of that. And it says here, move forward and defend self. So because this is in your 6th house, I feel the message is saying, like, how can you bring that beautiful, balanced Mars energy into your everyday, right? And maybe this week you can schedule out time to move forward and defend self. That's kind of interesting. I feel like maybe it's like a little bit of a call to arms for you, not to get like, go out there and attack or anything, but it's more like, are you protecting yourself? Are you protecting your energy? Because, there's so much healing and a lot of water with the Pisces energy going on. And your water rising, I feel like there's just an extra measure of boundaries and an extra measure of protecting your energy. You can do things physically, like spraying your space, or I have a whole workshop actually on psychic hygiene. You may want to look at that. But this is about protecting yourself this week, and it's about rallying, your willpower, being focused, and moving forward with things. So it's kind of like a green light to say, hey, whatever's going on this week, whatever may be coming up for you, it is a kind of still and more like quieter week, but it's also a really good week to do things because we're at the very end of the astrological year and there's a turning of the tides coming. So this is a really good time to take some actions, and only you will know what those are. But don't be afraid to take potent action this week. But make sure that you're really, you know, taking care of your body, having good boundaries, having good like routines in place, because our routines, by the way, and our habits of the sixth house, they actually protect us. They create this kind of protection field around us where not everybody could just come in and throw us off. If you're really anchored and like, no, like, not in a rigid way, but in like a way of like, okay, I'm doing this is important to me, this is what I need to feel good and to be myself, then that can really, really serve us and everybody. So that's your message. Let me know if that resonates with you. We're going to move on to Sagittarius rising. This is happening in your fifth house. When I say this, I just mean the Venus and Jupiter Chiron party. This is in your fifth house. So the fifth house is a very playful place of creativity and expression and fun and creation. So let's see what the message is for you. Okay, so this is a house card. Came in upside down. House 3. I feel like I want to say this came in last week, but I don't know for sure. Maybe it did. And it came reversed. So I've been doing reversed as a meaning as for it to say that there's something wanting to be a little tweaked. And this is around the throat chakra for you. And also communication, which is the throat chakra, but the rational mind. I'm feeling called to pull one more card for you to see what the message is there. Yin, and that came in reversed as well. So yin is intuition, trust, patience, spirituality, receptivity. So these are both reversed, and this is feeling like the message is, make time this week to express yourself, communicate what you're feeling below the surface. Don't be afraid to let it out. If you need a good cry, if you need a heart to heart, if you just need alone time, if you just need quiet, if you need a day off, if you need a break, it's okay. Give yourself that. It will serve you. If you want, take a break to go do something fun. Or it just was bringing up memories of like when I was little. I was really fortunate that my mom was super cool about letting me stay home from school, and I wanted to stay home from school a lot. Like and it wasn't that I didn't like school. I think it was just I needed to take breaks. I was definitely a highly sensitive child, and I definitely had like a lot of anxiety and all different things, and just being in that setting so like strictly was just a lot. And I'm sure there's so many other people who have felt that way, but my mom was really cool, and she's a Leo sun. And I remember, there were times where we would just go do fun things. She would let me stay home from school, but she wasn't like mean about it. She would take me to the Wiz, which was a music store. I don't know if you had one near you, but we used to go and we would go down and like listen to music and buy CDs. And, we would go to the mall. Like she would just let me have that time to just have fun in my own way and be creative. And I feel like that's what you need. Like play hooky this week, and don't be like ashamed about it. Just do something that's fun, that expresses yourself. Give your emotions expression. Let it out. and don't be afraid to ask for what you need. That's the message. Okay, so Capricorn rising. This Venus Jupiter Chiron party is happening in your fourth house. So the fourth house has to do with your sense of safety, your foundation. It's called your taproot, and it's the home environment. It's, you know, feeling grounded, and it has a lot to do with our emotional safety as well. So let's see what the message here, because this here is for you, because there's a lot of healing going on. There's a lot of energy there right now. Oh, Saturn. Okay, so Saturn came up for one of the other signs before, and this is one of the planetary guides. And Saturn has stepped up to say, hey, I'm going to support you this week. I want you to lean on me. I want you to walk with me a little bit. So you can see this owl here. Also, the card in general is like dark. Saturn has the kind of like yin nighttime energy. And it's a still energy. And I feel like the message for you is saying, it's about well, Saturn's your chart ruler, of course, by the way, because you're Capricorn rising, so you're familiar with this energy. Good old Saturn, right? He's saying to you, I want you to lean on me this week. I want you to do whatever you need to do to feel good. Like basically, and you know what I'm saying, because you're Capricorn rising, and you all are amazing creatures, and I really admire you. Because I'm Cancer rising, you know, that's my descendant, and I really am in awe. Like, teach me your ways. I'm not worthy. But I feel like this is saying, hey, like, what is needed to feel grounded right now? What is needed to feel aligned? Like, is my posture energetically and my physical, you know, am I feeling solid? You know, like standing up straight, like, how am I feeling? I feel that it's saying you may be denying some of that because you want to make other people feel comfortable, right? Are you fully owning this Saturnian energy? And it's not easy sometimes, I feel, because Capricorns and Capricorn rising, sometimes other people are so intimidated by you, or so kind of like, you know, because you're so just naturally masterful, and because you do put so much into whatever it is that you're doing, and you can be so polished and poised, and, you know, of course, this is all depending on everything else in your chart. This is a blanket statement, but I have found to that, you know, and I love Capricorn people. But the thing is, sometimes I feel like, just like with any other sign, we can feel like wrong in that energy, or we can feel like we need to like almost hide it to make everybody else feel comfortable, right? But this is saying, no, like, bring the Saturn in, heal your relationship to Saturn. This is your chart ruler, right? And overall, we all have so much healing to do with Saturn. It's about time, it's about karma, it's about being masters and discipline and all of that beautiful stuff. And I feel like in our society, we just have like a warped relationship to the energy of Saturn. And so I feel that there's a healing happening here, and it's starting inside of you, right? To say, okay, this is how I want to express this energy. What's holding me back? Do I have any wounds, right? Especially with the Chiron happening there. And Aries is going to, you know, support this in helping to show you very clearly, like, okay, not working, like, let it go or not, you know, keep it. Like, it's just a very like direct energy. So this is what's coming through. I'm not going to try to overcomplicate. I'm not going to try to understand it myself, because it's for you. I'm trusting that this message is exactly what you need to hear. Divine timing is coming through. But let me know if that resonates. And patience as well. Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to the Aquarius rising. So Aquarius rising, this Venus, Jupiter, Chiron party is happening in your third house. Okay, the third house has to do with your throat chakra and communication and learning, and it's to me about like your ability to share and communicate and like network and connect is really what it feels like. So let's see what's coming through. Okay, so this is one of the modalities, and it came through reversed. It's cardinal. So cardinal, Aries is a cardinal sign. And cardinal energy is leadership. It's bravery. It says instigation, bravery, and a pioneering spirit. And you see it's like a picture of a match being lit. It's kind of like being the way shower. And Aquarius, that's your thing, you know. Aquarius is a fixed sign, but you are definitely leaders in your own right as far as like the innovator. But I feel like there's a difference in that this is asking you to really draw upon your leadership, to take leadership, to be more proactive in your life this week. Whether that's something big or small, only you'll know. But what is it that you now need to, you know, take a stance on, right? Kind of get off, like you need to just take a stance. I don't know what it is, but because it was reversed, it's basically telling us that there's a tweaking or a realignment that's wanting to happen. And it may require you to speak up. It may require you to communicate and express something that you've not been allowing yourself to. It feels like there's something here that wants to come out and wants to be expressed, a decision wanting to be made, a conversation wanting to be had. I'm like, don't, you know, let's just see what happens if you do. I know that is easier said than done. So what do you need to feel safe in communicating this or in making this decision? That's number one. Because we want to make sure that it's sustainable and that it's coming from your heart, because this is Venus, Chiron, right? Give yourself permission to take time. You know, you don't have to do it right away and you don't have to share it right away, but just know that whatever it is, it's legit, it's okay, and it is, and that you are allowed to express it, whether or not that's going to be right away or in a year or whatever it may be. It's more about freeing up the space for yourself. Okay, so that's the message. Let me know if it resonates. Okay, and we are now going to share the message for Pisces rising. Pisces rising, this is happening in your second house. The Venus, Jupiter, Chiron party is happening in your second house of self-worth, your second house of security and possessions, money, all that good stuff. So let's see what the message is. Okay, so this is an aspect. So this came up before as well. This is a square, which has to do with obstacles. It has to do with there's something there that's ready to be cleared this week. So I'm going to pull another card. And ooh, it's fixed. So this is a modality, and it also came in reversed. So I'm going to pull one more card. That's just what I'm feeling. Air, an element. So the air is coming in and it's saying open-mindedness, objectivity, learning. Okay. So we have fixed, we have a square, and we have air. And this is all in your second house. So the second house is a fixed energy. It's the energy of Taurus, and it is ruled by Venus. And then I feel like what's wanting to be shared here is that, is there something seemingly blocking you, right? Because all blocks are, you know, they wouldn't exist if we didn't give them the power to, right? Is there something there around money, around your sense of safety and security, your sense of like being here now, being physically rooted, feeling safe? What comes up is that root chakra, like something there is not, is maybe feeling unsafe. And so it's saying this week, take some time to tune in and be open-minded. That's the air element. Be open-minded about it. It doesn't have to be this, big, scary thing. It doesn't have to be this deep, like huge process. It's really actually inviting you to get curious about what's happening. So perhaps you are feeling, that a need isn't being met, or that, there's some scarcity there. And again, I totally get that. Like, it's like a huge thing for me. I'm always healing that. I have an undefined root in human design, which I don't really talk about human design, but I'm kind of starting to reference it a little bit in certain ways. And, I really struggle with feeling safe. Like I just do, and feeling like rooted, and feeling like rooted essentially. So I get it. And it's a really uncomfortable feeling. And scarcity is something that I struggle with a lot, and I have to always remind myself. But the air piece is really fascinating here, because it's kind of like saying, hey, what am I not seeing? If I was to just zoom out, and if I was to just detach a little from this and not make it mean anything about me, not make it mean anything about my worthiness, not make it mean anything about how good I am or bad or whatever, what's just really happening here? And sometimes the best thing we can do is just look at it, like look at our bank account, look at our, whatever it is. Maybe it's your closet, or so, like get up close and personal with the things in your life, and maybe do some clearing, maybe do some getting rid of, right? And don't get so attached to your possessions. All these things are possibilities, and I'm keeping it very open because I'm sensing that all the different people watching, each of you is going to take what you need from it. But it is basically essentially saying, bring some objectivity in, detach from the story, detach from the thing, let it go, and that block, that obstacle will dissipate. It will dissolve for you. So that's a wrap. Thank you all so much for being here and for tuning in. Again, I'd love to invite you to listen to the podcast episode, and of course, subscribe if you enjoy it and want to get it every week without forgetting. And what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, the free guide is ready to go. So I actually spent a couple days this past week just updating it even more. I got like super inspired, and I'm so obsessed. I think it's amazing, if I do say so myself. I'm really, really, really excited about it. It's free, but it's kind of almost like a little mini ebook, and it's a guide to being your true self. And it's all about just, owning who you are, how you are. It's fun, and I think you're really, really going to enjoy it. I made it just for anybody who feels like they want to just be more of who they are and put their energy into that, which, is the greatest gift and the greatest service, I feel, because you are a gift to this world.